Welcome to the Friendzy.
I'm Melissa Carter,
And I'm Jenn Hobby.
and here is our promise to you. The Friendzy is here to change the conversation around age,
So that you can celebrate all your years rather than lie about them.
real stories by real women. I'm Melissa Carter, and I was once hit on by one of my father's employees at my father's funeral.
I know that story. I know that story.
True story, yes.
Crazy one. I'm Jenn Hobby, and I'm certain that I don't wash my bras as often as I should.
Honey, I don't think anybody does.
All right, tell us about this employee.
Oh my God. Yeah, okay. So, yes, short story. My father passed away back in 2001. So this is a long time ago, but I was 31 and it was at his viewing. And if you've never been to a viewing, I'd be surprised if nobody's been to a viewing, but if you haven't, they have a viewing and a funeral for people you've never been to a viewing
I've
or a
never been
funeral?
to a viewing. I've been to a funeral.
Funeral.
I've
Well,
just never been to a viewing where you see the body.
yes.
Nope.
So yes,
No, thank
I think
you.
that's a Southern thing too. But viewings are also there so that if somebody can't make the funeral, they can, they have a 2-day event for anybody who wants to come. So it was yes, open casket. It was viewing, and my mother and I were in front of the casket greeting people, and one of my father's employees, who I'd known since I was a child, came to talk to me, but I think it was like, oh, I haven't seen you since you were 12 years old, and now you're 31. And apparently he had appreciated the way that I had grown. And so he was like flirting with me. And I remember my back was to my father's casket. And I just remember, and in my mind, I thought, is my father around here somewhere to see this? Because if he is, he would kick your ass if he could. I remember
What did
thinking,
he say to you? Do you remember
I
exactly
do
what he
not remember.
said? But it was like, "Hey, baby."
It wasn't like overt language. It was just the way his body
Mhm.
language was, right?
Ugh.
And so I just thought, dude, this is the worst time. But anyway, so it was just awkward. It didn't last very long, but I just remember I didn't feel uncomfortable. I just felt like, dude, you're such a, as my son would say, you're such a noob. Like, what are you doing? Noob means like rookie. You're not very good. It's a gaming term. And so that's
I
what I
love
thought
it.
is, you're a noob, dude. So anyway, yeah, that truly happened. And he did not get the date because I think he was married too. So it was a married employee. So, and and the bra thing, I just want to bring up the bra thing.
Yeah.
When do you know, like, what is your sign? Why you feel guilty about not washing them as much as you could? What is it? I mean, is it the discoloration? Because that's the time that I know that the bras need to be thrown away. Sometimes I keep a bra longer than I should
Yeah.
because it's starting to, if you have any underwire, it's cutting through. Like, I used to have a bra that would stab me. And I'm like, Carter, why do you still
Throw
have this
it
bra?
away. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I know when they're worn out, it's just how often you're supposed to wash them because, you got to put it in the lingerie bag and you got to hang them dry. And I don't have that many to rotate. And so I try to be washing one while I'm wearing the other. But I definitely wash it if I've sweat in it.
Yeah.
But if I haven't sweat in it, I probably just put it back on the next day. I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably gross. I mean, it's weeks. It's
Well,
it's
you can
weeks.
and you can smell it. I mean, we're
And if
real talk, and if it's a little,
if it's a little ripe, it's got to
yeah.
go in the washing machine. But I
Yes.
probably stretch it an extra day or two. Honestly, just spritz a little perfume on it, and you're good to
Right.
go.
Well, there's women. So there's now I'm not as big busted. I mean, it seems like the older and a little more weight on me, I've gotten bigger busted. But people who have very large breasts, I know that there's baby powder involved for that very
Yeah,
reason because of the sweat.
yeah.
There are women I know that have put dryer sheets under to help
Oh,
with that.
smart.
And then
Yeah.
the other thing that to me, bra fitting
Mhm.
I don't think I've ever had a bra that fit me because I have a thick torso. I don't have this little petite torso. So I have like skinny arms, skinny shoulders, skinny legs, skinny ass, but my torso is like broad. And so I have a small cup and a broad torso. Anyway, my whole life, I don't think I've ever had a bra. This bra that I have on now, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've given up. It's like, I'll take some gappage, I'll take some tightness, because I feel like you could revolutionize bras if there was some company that, I mean, they were
There's
just
companies
making,
that do like the private fittings. I know
Yeah.
of one where we live,
Well,
and
I
now that we're kinda coming out of COVID and everybody's getting vaccinated and stuff, once you're good to go, let's go.
but
Let's go
here
do a custom fitting.
we
I'll
should.
broadcast it live for all the Friendzy
We
friends.
should do that because there was one time you and I were on a show together, and I don't know if it was the same store that
Mm,
came to the station and did a bra fitting, and I volunteered to do it in a private studio,
mm,
and the way they fit me was, again, it hurt my torso because even though they measured me, it was too tight. So that we
right?
should do that. Once this
Let's
is
do it.
done, you and I will go and we will have a discussion and a fitting, and we'll share it with the Friendzy audience. I think
I
that's a
love it.
great idea. Great
Okay,
idea.
done, and I'll buy some more so I don't have to wash mine as often. I can get a couple more good bras in the
Well,
rotation.
when we go out, because 'cause we're in public and somebody's gonna see it, how about you just put a clean one on,
Okay, I'll try.
okay, before we go?
Okay.
Just
I'll
wash
try.
one. You got time. How about wash one now and just and save it, and then when we go, you're ready.
Sounds like a plan. And coming up on today's episode, you're going to hear an incredible story from this very real, down to earth woman.
Our featured guest is comedian Leanne Morgan. Now, Leanne's style of comedy combines her Southern charm and hilarious storytelling about her own life into an act that keeps audiences coming back for more. You are guaranteed a good laugh during today's episode.
Plus, Melissa has a pep talk to get you pumped up and feeling good.
So, before we talk to Jenn about what's going on with her, I want to ask you, have you subscribed to the Friendzy podcast yet? Why not? It's free. If you have subscribed, we thank you. Why have you do it? No. But could you share, if you've subscribed, why don't you share the scoop, tell a friend about the Friendzy? We would appreciate it so much because we want more women to enjoy and connect with these real stories by real women. So now, Jenn, what is going on with you?
Okay, Melissa Carter, I need some strategies.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm relying on you because we're in the same
Oh,
boat. You know,
okay. Okay.
we are old moms with young kids.
Amen,
Okay.
sister. Yes.
So we started our families later in life. So we're a little bit older. We're both ambitious women who have goals always to try new things and accomplish stuff. And we have little kids. And so I'm struggling with the split focus of it all. And I just get frustrated every day by the constant interruptions that just
Mhm.
come with being a mom, but somehow I feel like it's just me. Like I look at all these other moms and I feel like, when follow my friends on Instagram or when I, get to talk with them, it just seems like they don't have the same frustration, and I know that's not true, right?
I'm sitting here going, if you're on our YouTube feed, I'm nodding my head no. Jenn, you know that first of all, when you see people online, people see it like
Yeah.
to me, Instagram is a lie, Facebook is a lie. Like that is the life you want to live. People are putting what they want you to think about their life on there. And no
That's true.
disrespect, but it's the truth. Like
Yeah. It's
uh,
the highlight reel.
it's the highlight reel. That's a great
Yeah.
way to put it. It's your highlight reel. You don't like because every time on Instagram when and again, the frenzy on Instagram, I don't want to insult any of our followers, but I think that when you want to be an Instagram model, that's the thing is you always have your makeup on, you always have your hair right.
Mhm.
It's like, you know what? I would when somebody is raw on there, like I like it better. If you don't have your makeup on,
Mhm.
if you're telling a story and the story is what's important, not how you look, then to
Mhm.
me, I connect with you better than if you were just, again, trying to do a highlight reel.
Totally.
Yeah,
It's
so
just like I feel like I need to figure out the strategies for all the interruptions that come because I don't feel like I can ever finish anything. Is that just life being a mom? Because it's like as soon as I get started and I'm concentrating and I'm like accomplishing something for work, I'm interrupted by something else. Or there's a text message or there's an email that comes in. It's like, do they have the money for the book fair? Or it's like, do you know what I mean? And it's
yes.
like, oh, did we do that? Please fill out this survey for, the blah, blah, blah that we need to do for the blah. And, did the doctor's appointment get scheduled? And then it's like, oh man, I have not gotten anything done for work today. Okay, let me get back on the work train. And then it's like, oh, guess what? Time's up. You got to go to carpool. And then I sit in car line and I try to accomplish things there. And I feel interrupted at all times. And I am uncomfortable with it. And maybe my issue is that I just need to get comfortable with the constant disruption.
Well, I think, um, a couple things come to mind. First of all, is that I don't think you need to be working in the carpool line. Like
I know.
I
Well, it
think
is
well,
real boring and it takes about an hour and we're just parked.
true,
So I'm not
true.
driving while I'm trying to respond to emails. It's like you're parked, and
No, I
because
agree
of
that, but
COVID, people don't put
I
their kids on the bus. So everybody's in car line.
I understand. But there's a part of me that does think that this constant feeling of being behind only
Yes.
exaggerates it. And so so my first thought is the old Roman war philosophy of divide and conquer. So if you've ever
Okay.
heard the term divide and conquer, that comes
Yes.
from the Roman Empire,
Yeah.
because the way that they were able to conquer so much territory is they divided the people of those communities, and if you don't work together, then you succumb to whatever. So, but in this case, for a positive view of divide and conquer, it is that you have to compartmentalize the things in smaller bites. So I completely understand. I have a 6-year-old who, now that we are slowly emerging from the bug, Katie and I are coordinating things because we know that he has been away from social interactions with other
Mhm.
children. And so we're looking forward to the fact that beginning this summer, he's going to be interacting with children more and more. And then he's going to be back in the school because he's been remote learning. So in our house, because of my transplant, we have had to isolate him so he doesn't bring it back to me. But now that the vaccines are available and we're all going to get vaccinated, this summer, we've already coordinated stuff. So, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because not only the interruptions for eating and for just the random stuff that happens in your house, but now you're trying to coordinate schedules with these children and the things they're involved in school and camp and da 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 da. And now we're thinking about music and baseball and swimming and all these things. Um, you have to take it in small chunks. So the projects I work on, instead of trying to think of it as a big project, like I'm going to get all this accomplished, it's just I'm going to get this one piece. That's all I can only do 15 minute. Give me a 15-minute window to get this piece of that project done. Because the problem is I have become that mother who says, "All right, I'll get to you in just a minute. Hold on, hold on, hold on for a minute." And I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I've become that mother that my son can't
Mhm.
say, 'Hey mom, can I get this?' Hold on a second." And
Right.
I don't want to be that mom. So,
Yeah.
and I don't want to teach him to do the same thing. So anyway, point being, you need to really do a stricter schedule, meaning for yourself. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's just like instead of trying to get 3 emails done, get half an email done, get it started, get the email started, and then
Mhm.
let it go. And that way, when your children interrupt you, you're not mad. You don't feel behind. It's like, oh, okay, I got half that
Mhm.
done. Cool. All right, I'll get up. So, because you need to feel joy and motivation for everything you do. So that's why in the carpool line, if you're doing something that's making you feel behind, well, then by the time your daughters get in your car, you're already kind of stressed. No,
Mhm.
it's a privilege to be in that carpool line because your children are only this age for a short period of time, and you need to not be working on something that makes you feel bad. And I know that sounds hippy dippy, but I truly believe that because once you open up your emotions to be positive and to be joyful, then your day does change. Like the events of
So
your
do
day
you
don't
just
change.
do you just let things go for
Yes.
work? Like, should I just be better at being bad at work
Uh,
and be a better mother?
Well, I think you have to make a choice. I'm not saying you're bad. See, I don't feel like I'm bad at work. I just have
Mhm.
rearranged my life to where what is my priority? My priority is to be a good mom because my
Mhm.
son, we said this off air, by the time he's 14, he's not going to care as much about me. But at 6, I am his world. And I only have that
Mhm.
for a short
That's
amount of
true.
time.
That's true.
And so it's like, and I think about, I lost my mother last year, and it's like I think about why am I so emotionally connected to my mother? Because of how she made me feel. Because she made me feel special, she made me feel important, like she was engaged in what I was doing. And when we talked, she was engaged in our conversations. Where my
Mhm.
father was the workaholic, and he barely gave me eye contact, let alone he never spent one-on-one time with me as a child on doing anything I was doing. And so I know he loved me, and I know she loved me. But as an adult, guess who I called? Guess who I wanted to spend time with? Guess who I mourned, deeper? And that was my mother. And
Mhm.
so that's to me what's important is regardless of what I've accomplished professionally in my life, I want my son to have this reflection on me as an old man of I appreciate the way she made me feel. and that's it. And so to me, that's why when your children get in the car, it should be, I'm so excited. And not that you don't, I'm not saying you don't, but like in my
Mhm.
mind, I have to tell myself, okay, as soon as I see my son, I have to be excited that he's there, even though I see him all the time. But it's like, when I see him, like if we've been apart and he comes back, if he's been at swim practice, he comes back, if he's been at baseball,
Mhm.
I've got to be excited to see him every single time so that he
Mhm.
feels that. So anyway, point being, which is more important, being a mom or work? And then I think that's a struggle that every woman has, and it's not that you can't have both, but I think sometimes you have to swap one of them. It's like you teach your child, is it your turn? It's my son's turn now. It'll be my profession's turn again. But right now it's my
Mhm.
son's turn. So the profession may have to be 75% instead of 100%, but to me that's it. But everybody has to make that decision for themselves, and I'm a single
Mhm.
mom, so that's why. That's the other thing, is if you have somebody to work with, then demand that help. You got Women cannot do this on their own. You have to demand that help from your partner. If you Depending on what you want, ask for what you want in your own house. So anyway, I don't know if that helps. I mean, this is your struggle, and I want you to talk more about it. I mean, like, maybe talk a little bit more about the emotions of it so that our listeners understand that, oh, I'm not alone, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just that engine that's been running for so long in the career world because we had kids later. I probably would have felt differently if I had had children in my 20s. Now, thank goodness I didn't, because, for so many reasons, I'm glad that I have children at the age that I am. But I think because I am ambitious and always have been. I think that that's just part of my motor and my DNA and how I'm wired because I was like that through, elementary school and middle school and high school, and I've always had that ambitious engine, that leadership engine, and um that's been running on the highway at Mach 10 in one direction for so long that I think now, and I think especially COVID has highlighted it, right? Because I'm working from home now. So and my job changed so much. So this shift from, going Mach 10 one direction on the highway to going, whoa, U-turn. Now focus on your family, focus on your kids, work from home, and kind of balance it all. It's just hard because I feel like, you get to those days where you're like, I'm not good at any of this. I'm not a
Well,
good mom. I'm not good at my job. I'm not good at being a
that's
wife. I'm
normal.
not,
But that's normal. I think for women especially, that's a normal emotion whether you were in COVID or
Mhm,
not, because you have more than one responsibility, and it gets splayed, and because you don't have a good sense of what's going on, but you are good. You're a good wife. You're a good mother. You're a good employee, above average in all those areas, but you don't even see it. And I think that this is another thing why I always, as a lesbian, I am fascinated by the dynamics in a straight person's home. Because
mhm,
even though Katie and I are no longer together, we are 50-50 split with our son. And I have the ability to not have him in the home at certain times. Now,
mhm,
when Katie and I first split, we were both heartbroken by that experience. We were both heartbroken that we could not see our child. He was an infant, and we couldn't see our child every day. And that was one of the hardest things, I'm sure. And I can't speak for her, but I'm sure she would say that was the hardest thing that she and I have ever gone through, is having to watch our son being taken away by the other one. Because I would cry every time Katie would leave
aw,
the driveway when he was an infant. But then Katie and I share this ambition that you talk about, and we realized, okay, we're going to take this as an opportunity. This is not something that we need to take as a deficit. So she and I work very well together on the fact that when we don't have our son, that's when we work. And so that's something that you don't have. But we said,
mhm,
Katie and I always talked about, we should write a book, because we don't see why that structure has to not take place in a home of couples that are together. So Katie and I, it's 2 days on, 2 days off, and a weekend. Meaning I have Mr. Carter, say, Monday and Tuesday. Then Katie has him Wednesday and Thursday.
and then
And
Wednesday
then I
and
have
Thursday, you can actually concentrate and get stuff
Wednesday
done,
and
right?
Thursday, I'm a workaholic. Friday, Saturday,
Yeah,
Sunday, then I have my son, and then we switch around. Same with
I
Katie.
would love that plan.
But that's
I mean,
some
I would be sad if I didn't see my kids every day, but it
but
is
that
a great
there is
balance.
no but there's no reason that people can't have that in their whether you're straight or gay. If you're together in a home,
Mhm.
The reason I target straight people is because in the gay community, we don't have those set structures. It's two women. So there's no man and woman in our roles in the relationship. Every relationship I've been in is a conversation we have. Who's going to take responsibility for this? Who's going to take,
Mhm.
because we have the ability to do that. We're like, okay, we can set this for ourselves because we're not a straight couple. I'm fascinated by straight couples where the woman will run herself ragged for the man to still be able to focus on his job, even though she's working. So in
Mhm.
the olden days, it was he's working,
In
so
the
I'm gonna do
olden days.
everything to make sure that he's making the money. So I need to make sure I'm gonna have dinner on the table and I'll take care of the kids so he doesn't have to worry about it. Well, to me, that's so old fashioned, but yet there's so many couples that still, well, he's working, he makes the bigger salary potentially. So I'm just no, honey, no. There's no reason that you can't do what Melissa and Katie Joe have done, which is you set a structure in your own house to where if it's 2-2-3 like we do, it's the Monday and Tuesday. Guess what? You're in charge of your kids. You're in charge of breakfast and dinner and bath and to bed and homework and all that stuff. When it's Wednesday and Thursday, your husband is in charge of breakfast and dinner and bed and bath. And this is where I think women
That'd be
have
great.
even if he doesn't do it as well as you, who cares? Let him do it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the argument I hear a lot of women say. I don't care if he's not good at it. Let
Right.
him do it. And that way he gets to spend time with your child. You get to have time to just work and vice versa. To me, it's like if you can't ask for what you want, like I said, in your own home, then how in the world are you going to be able to do it anywhere else? And so, yes, there are ways for you to be ambitious and to be a good parent. But you can't do it all. You can't do it all. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have to do it all. And so that's why I think that you have to, and even when I have Mr. Carter, I still have, it's one of those things I try to be more present. I'm still a workaholic. I want to work when he's here, but I have to let it
Mhm.
go and realize to be overwhelmed does not mean you're a good employee. And I've told Jen this off
Mhm.
air, honey, being successful doesn't mean that you have to feel frazzled. That's where our training in radio, and I'm sure other professions are the same way, where you don't
Mhm.
feel accomplished unless you're worn out. There are plenty of successful people that are not worn out that are making plenty of money. And so
Right.
that's something else I think
Well,
that
I do have to say, I feel like Grant, I need to defend him a bit because I do feel like we have a pretty good split of responsibilities. He's not a guy in our house who doesn't do anything. I mean, he does all the dishes every day. He does a lot of the laundry. He drives the kids to school in the morning. Like we have a pretty good split of responsibilities. And so I will say that his job has been more demanding in the last year and mine has been less demanding. So it's just a shift for me. It's a change to adjust to. Whereas before, when I was doing morning radio and I was, leaving basically in the middle of the night to go to work, he did all of that. He did all of the lunches and breakfast and getting the kids ready and out the door and all that kind of stuff. So
and that's
now
something
it's
else
a
you have to think about.
shift,
Well, you have to
right?
think about that because your schedule is different than it's been in 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
maybe
it's
that's
kind of
something you're adjusting to as well.
right. I do like to sleep. I'll take that.
Yes.
That
It's nice.
adjustment has been the
It's nice
best.
to have 8 hours of sleep.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm so much less cranky. I'm a lot nicer of a person.
But I do challenge people to think about setting up a plan in your home that couples who are no longer together have to do. A divorced
Getting
couple getting div
getting one day of where because here's the other thing that I will say about when the kids are in the house, it's not like they'll leave you alone. They will find me. So even if I had like a day where it was like, okay, this is Grant's day, he's doing all of the things and I'm going to go lock myself in the office, they'd be in here. They'd be like, I need mom.
yeah, but that's where
You know what I
again
mean?
but you I again, it's how strict you are about it.
Mhm.
Because like when my son is here, there's nobody else to entertain him. And when am taping a show or doing things, it's like I cannot be interrupted. Absolutely cannot be interrupted. And he
Mhm.
understands that rule. I'm like, unless you have to call 911 for something,
Right.
you don't come in here. And he knows that rule. So he understands that when mama's office door is shut, that he has to entertain himself.
And figure
Um,
it out
and figure it out.
and get the juice and find a snack
Yes,
and
so he
go to
does
the potty
he's
and
not allowed in. I give him everything he needs right before. he's old enough to go to the bathroom by himself, and he entertains himself, and it works. And so that's the thing, is you can't set a rule and then not follow it.
Yeah.
So that's on you. But I think that, if you want something, you can have it, but it just depends on how much you're willing to make those sacrifices, and to ask your husband to make the same sacrifices. Because to me, it's like, yeah, we're not, forgive me, because we're not, the FCC doesn't regulate us, but shit or get off the pot. Like, I'm not one to, Jen knows this. I'm not a complainer. I do not like
Mhm.
complaining. You can complain for a little bit, but then something's got to be done. Like,
Mhm.
you can't just complain to complain. So if there's something you don't like about your life, change it. If you can't change it, then stop complaining about it. And so I
Mhm.
really think that there are ways around your schedule if you have the help, but you got to ask for the help, and the
It's
person has
true.
got to step up. And if they
Yeah.
don't step up, then that's a different conversation.
Totally. See, the Frenzy's where you get to hear the real story about what is going on at this stage of life, and everything is actually perfect even when it's not. And so that's why we want to celebrate all of our stories together here on the Frenzy, even if it is good or bad or otherwise. So, and I want to talk about that a little bit, and
Okay.
the importance of storytelling. Can you talk about the importance of storytelling in your life, like talking about things like this, telling the stories of our schedules and our lives and
Absolutely.
frustrations?
Yes. Well, I think storytelling is important. And in this, I mean, I think it's important outside your world, your personal world, but I think it's incredibly important inside your world. And that's kind of the theme of this,
Mhm.
is if you are unable to tell your story to your spouse. I mean, that's the thing. Like, storytelling to me is most important at home. To be able to, because as a
Mhm.
Southerner, storytelling is a part of our world, right? But for most people, if you if you got stressed out at all by me saying you need to ask your spouse to step up, well, then you really need to reevaluate this, because if your spouse doesn't understand why they need to step up, that's where the storytelling comes in. Because if you're a good storyteller, you're not going to just automatically, like Jen and I used to say on the morning show, that we were a part of, to throw the breadbasket at somebody, meaning that you're going
Mhm.
to attack them and attack them. Oh, and I do this and this and this. We all,
Right. You're
I
not
mean,
gonna let it bubble up until that point
until
of
you
where you're
blow up.
exploding. Yeah.
That's where storytelling comes in,
Yeah.
because there's a way to tell your spouse about your day and what you like about it and what you don't like about it, in a way that's compelling, in a way that's thoughtful, and their reception will be so much better. I mean,
Mhm.
the lack of communication in a relationship, to me, is because the storytelling is bad. I think storytelling, and then we could talk about storytelling at work. We could talk about storytelling with your social world. But I
Mhm.
think here, for this conversation, if you are a better storyteller, then you will have a better home life, because there will be communication. Storytelling is about communication, and sending a message that somebody else understands. And so I think that that's something that could be lacking, is to be able to tell a good story in that way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It totally does. And I think that we can do a better job of that, and just explaining the things that are going on with us to our partners, and they wanna help when we ask them to. I think
They
most of
love
the time,
you.
yeah, I think most of the time they want to step up and help when they can, if we don't put them on the defense,
Yeah,
right?
Katie, I don't make Katie hot under the collar anymore, but if I tell a good story to even her,
Yeah.
then she will
It's
respond,
like,
like,
"Oh, okay, I can
because she's still,
help."
yes, because I'm
Yeah.
still the mother of her child, she still cares about me, and so there are times where she absolutely steps up when I ask, and even now, it's sometimes I hate to have to ask, especially hate to have to ask an ex, but when there are times that it's tough, if I and again, if I explain it to her in a way that she understands, if I'm a good storyteller about what's going on, I mean, in a split second, Katie will be there.
It's
So
awesome.
what so of course, if you're sleeping with somebody, they should, come on. And that, I mean, we could talk about that later. I mean, that's a storytelling skill in itself.
That's a whole different thing.
That's a whole different thing. All right. So I know that we have been, people probably tight thinking about all these things, but we're going to make you laugh. All right. We're going to make you laugh with Leanne Morgan here in just a minute. But first, let's thank our sponsor. All right, our featured guest today is comedian Leanne Morgan. Now, she has appeared at the Las Vegas Comedy Festival, ABC's The View, Nick at Night's Funniest Mom, and toured with the Southern Fried Chicks. She's appeared in comedy clubs and theaters all over the country. Leanne has celebrity fans like Dr. Phil, Paula Deen, Reese Witherspoon, and her videos on Dry Bar Comedy have gotten more than 50 million views. Her podcast, called Sweaty and Pissed, Menopause and More. Plus, Leanne is about to embark on her very first national headlining tour across the United States called the Big Panty Tour. So please help us welcome Leanne Morgan to the Friendzy.
Leanne Morgan, welcome to the Friendzy.
Thank you for having me, my darling. I feel frenzied.
Well, we do too. That's why we started this podcast. We started the Friendzy because we said, there aren't enough people talking with women over 40 about real life stories and real life stuff happening to us. And we're just so excited to have you here today and hear your real stories.
Well, thank you, my darling. Thank you. And you're right about that. But I do think during this mean, stupid COVID, people do want real. Don't y'all think?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They definitely want real. So tell us, Leanne, how did your comedy career get started?
Okay, this is crazy, y'all. We were talking about it yesterday. I went to the eye doctor who, because my contact subscription had run out, and my little man who was doing my eyes is on the lam. Like it's missing, and took everybody's all their records and stuff, and we don't know if he's in the mafia. I know, and he's an eye doctor. Anywho, so I go to my new eye doctor, who is a guy that lives in my neighborhood, who I love with all my heart. He and his precious wife, and they've got 3 little babies, and they're darling. And we were at his office, and he was trying to, get me contacts and figure out what I needed. And his partner in the eye business said, "How in the world did you get started?" There was a girl that they have hired, a lady my age, one of my dear friends that I had all my babies with in Morristown, Tennessee. She's come to work for them 5 months ago. We kissed and straddled each other. Okay, so then she said, she goes, "Leanne, remember I peed on a couch at one of your jewelry parties?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, Carmen, that was the time." Okay, so going back, let me tell you real quick. So I had my first baby. My husband had moved me to the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, Bean Station, Tennessee. He had his own business, 26 years old, overachiever. I wanted to stay home with my baby. Now, I knew I was going to be an entertainer from the time I was 5, but I was raised in the country, and I just didn't know. Nobody had ever done anything like that. I didn't know how to do it. But anyway, so I went to college. I finished a degree, and I married my husband. We were up in Bean Station, Tennessee, and in the back of my mind the whole time, I'm getting pregnant, breastfeeding, but I'm thinking, how am I going to get on stage? So one of my good friends, my husband said, "You got to get a job or do something," because he was a young business owner and trying to make that work. And I said, "I cannot leave my baby. I got a nurse." And so I started selling jewelry. My good friend out of Nashville said, "I sell jewelry for this company. It's like Tupperware. You go in women's homes." Well, I've never met a stranger. I could talk to a pole. So I started schlepping jewelry around the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. And I would put out brownies in a dip, put out this jewelry. And I was supposed to be talking about jewelry. Instead, I was talking about nursing and breastfeeding and black hairs growing out of my stomach and all that. and people thought I was funny. Women started booking me in a year in advance, and the company noticed and started asking me to speak at their big things. And people would say, "You need to be a stand-up." And that gave me the validation that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't like one of these pitiful children on American Idol that sing and think they can sing. I was worried that I was like that. I thought, maybe I'm not funny. But okay, so Carmen was at the eye doctor yesterday, and she goes, "Leanne, remember I got to laughing so hard I peed on a couch." And I went, "Oh my gosh, Carmen, that was the minute that I thought in my mind, I've got something. I've got it. I can do it. She just peed on a couch." I'm not kidding y'all.
Well,
that was the moment.
That's the highest accolade you can get as a comedian, right?
Yes, when somebody urinates. And I still, when people go, "Oh my God," there were women in Indiana, Evansville, Indiana. I did a show, and a woman said, her husband said, "Oh my gosh, you better take an extra pair of panties." And so she had an extra pair of panties in her purse. And we all took a picture with her big flesh color pair of panties that she got at Sam's. And, all of that has been the inspiration for my new tour called the Big Panty Tour. Because I just thought all these women are carrying around big panties in their purse. And everybody loves a good, comfortable big panty,
Yes. Absolutely.
That's all they've been in the pandemic.
That's right.
Right?
Oh,
now Leanne,
sweatpants.
now I'm a native of Columbia, Tennessee, outside of Nashville.
Mule Day.
Yes, Mule Day, Jenn, Mule Day. So
tell us, what is
Columbia-
Mule Day?
Columbia was founded in the mule trading business, and so the first first weekend in April every year is called Mule Day. And Leanne, growing up, we had a beauty contest, and sure enough, she was called the Mule Queen. I mean, that's not it. So I mean,
I dig it.
So where were you originally from? Now I heard where you lived with your husband, but where are you originally from?
Okay, I was raised in Adams, Tennessee, 500 people on the Kentucky-Tennessee border in between Clarksville and Nashville.
Yep, I know.
And it's a farm, and do you know it?
Because my dad worked for the Farm Bureau, so he was all over the place, especially in Farmington.
Oh, then I bet my people.
It's a Tennessee farming connection. We've talked about Tennessee farming on this show.
Yeah, I bet my people know your people.
Yeah, I bet y'all are related somehow.
Now my people are from the Lexington area, so I'm the first generation Tennessean. They're all Kentuckian. So anyway,
but yes, and 4-H, and I went to 4-H camp in Columbia, and everybody,
at Murray County Park.
Yes. And I got on stage on the talent night.
I bet
and sang Blue Moon.
I bet you interacted with my father because my father helped run that 4-H camp. So see, Jen,
gosh, I love this connection. This is so great. You know what? If y'all did one of those ancestry DNA kits, look out because the swab is coming back connecting y'all somehow.
It might because I was born in Kentucky. I was born in Bowling Green, Kentucky, but all my people are farmers on generations back. And so everybody was like, it was always about the Farm Bureau, the co-op.
Yes,
that.
We'd go to the co-op to get the gravel for our driveway because Dad didn't want to pave the driveway. He wanted to go to the co-op and get the gravel for the drive. I mean, yeah. So
yeah, we don't have a paved driveway. Mom and Daddy still have. I'm leaving today to go take care of my little mom and daddy, and I wear on tennis shoes that I love. And the gravel gets stuck in my own tennis shoes, and I end up scarring up their hardwood floors. And I have to watch it every time I go.
They could hear you coming, though. I could always hear when somebody arrived at the house because tires always pop those rocks. That's why you got to replace them from the co-op. But anyway, the point of all that, not to just is the fact that I think, we talk about confidence on the show and confidence in women, and the fact that you had a feeling in your heart that you knew I've got to be out in front of people. And the fact that you're from Adams, Tennessee did not derail this dream of yours. Like instead of saying, well, I'm breastfeeding, I got a husband, I got a baby, you were like, okay, how am I going to do this? I'm going to figure out a way. And so I don't know, is there a way you could bottle up that confidence and give it to other women so they don't give up on themselves?
Well, I don't know, but I feel like when you have a deep, like a intuition, I listen to my gut. I always have. And when I haven't, I've gotten in big trouble. But when I listen to my gut, and I feel like that's the voice of God speaking to you, and I feel like if you listen to that voice, you can't go wrong. And if deep in your heart, and I heard that voice from the time I was a little bitty girl. I remember it because there was a talent contest in Adams on 4th of July, and I wanted to enter into it. And I was going to dance to Sonny and Cher, Cherokee Nation. And I knew I was supposed to be on stage, and I love to entertain. And that voice carried me, or it spoke to me all through my life. And it wasn't time yet, but there would always be something. If there was opportunity, I listened to it. And so when I say that, I mean, like in high school, they said, Leanne, you're a ham. Why don't you get up and MC the whatever? And I'd be like, I'll do it. So, and then the 4th of July camp, they had said, we've got a talent show. I was 10. I was like, I'm singing Blue Moon. I don't even know the lyrics, but I'm doing it. And I did it. and all those things were frightening, but I felt in my heart that it's just something that I was supposed to be doing. It felt right to me. So if somebody has got something is speaking to you, and if you call that God or whatever you call that, I call that God, that you need to listen to that. That's your gut. Some people, I worked with a comedian one time that called it her Northern Star, but I do believe that's where the dreams come from, and they feel from there, and you need to listen to them. So if you've heard in a voice, I should have been a nurse. I wish I'd have gone to nursing school. I've got so many friends that are in their 40s that went back to nursing school, and it was hard, and they had a bunch of kids, but they knew in their heart that's what God had called them to do, to serve. You got to do it. You only get one life. You got to do it. You may be out of your comfort zone. It may be scary, but that's when we grow. Remember Barney? Remember watching Barney with your babies? And it was always growing's hard. And but you growth and all that comes from doing things outside the box, scary things. And I've been scared many a time up and down in this business, but I just always listen to that voice, there were times when I'd think, should I quit? This is crazy. Like, because I'd give a television deal for a sitcom, it wouldn't make it, and I'd be disappointed, and or I couldn't get booked, and there'd be a dry spell with that, and I think, should I go to work at Target and put the bedding up on that back thing? Because I've always thought that'd be a fun job. and it would. Can y'all imagine how they, putting the colors together and everything? But but that voice would always go, no, it's not time. It's not time. No, there's something else. There's something else. And so that's what my opinion is. I think that everybody's got a gift. Everybody's got a destiny. And I think we all get, as women, we start thinking, well, is that crazy? Well, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that for myself. That's going to take away from my family, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not thin enough, or I'm not whatever. And that's all just wrong and a lie. We've got so much to do in this world, on this earth. It's just a tiny bit of time. And I'm a dreamer. I guess y'all figured that out. But I just believe. I believe in magic things happening, unusual things coming in your life. I just believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think older women are afraid to start something new, like you did with your comedy career, and going down a new path?
Well, and when I got started, I was 32 and had 3 babies. I've been doing it 20 years. So, and that's old to get into comedy, really. But women my age now, I'm 55. If they are scared, I don't see a lot of people scared. I see a lot of people, and maybe during this pandemic, something's changed people, or our society has changed people, but I see a lot of women my age doing new things and going for it, and taking on a whole new career. And I feel like more and more people are doing that. And if they're not doing that, I just want to say to them, I wish I could hold them on my lap and rock them and go, you know what? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And if that means, you've been at home with children and you've raised them and they're gone, and you're scared to go back out in the workforce, go to work at Target and put bedding up on the thing. Everything leads to something else.
Yeah. And everything leads to something good. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Is I've started that mantra in my life, where I think when I was younger, more afraid of things. I'm not as afraid of things as I used to be. That's one of the things I think about being older and being in my 50s is a privilege. But my new mantra is everything leads to some good. So even if it's a hard time or something sad, you get past it, there's something better. And if it's good, then stay on it. It's going to keep doing well. But that's me focusing on me, where before I was kind of worried about what other people think and worried what other people, and now I don't care about that as much.
Yeah. I think when you turn me at 50, I've got a bit about it in my act, I don't care. Like things that, people that in my voices and women in the carpool and all that mess, I don't care. I'm going to do what I got to do. I can't listen to that. And I think, And my mama said to me, I've got a very wise little mama. Years ago, my sister and I, honey, we hot rolled our hair in the 80s, and we cared about how we looked, and we didn't concentrate on school, and we were very much into how we looked and all that. And we were like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's talking about me. And mama said, I hate to tell y'all, but nobody cares. She, people have got their own thing going on, their own thing. They're not sitting there thinking about y'all. And that always hit me. I thought, people really do have their own crap, and they're not focused on me. If they are focused on me, bless their hearts, because they ought to be focused on themselves. But like you were saying, everything leads to something else. And sometimes I'll go and speak at classes at the University of Tennessee, where I graduated from, and they are darling.
Me too. Me too. Oh my God.
You did?
I did. I went to the University of Tennessee. I graduated.
Telling y'all are lost sisters.
I'm telling you, I graduated from the College of Communication in 1992.
Well, you don't. My middle child just got her degree in communications from UT. Dr. Hahn.
Yes, yes.
Loved him. Well, I was no, that's all right. You may have seen me smoking cigarettes behind a dumpster in the early 90s. But they get me to go and speak to kids in human ecology, because my degree is in child and family studies and crisis intervention. And so they get me to go and talk to these kids that are doing internships, and they're scared out of their minds. And they think the first job they have out of college is going to be the only job they have. And, they're just scared out of their mind. And they said, Leanne, you need to go in and tell them that here you got this degree in child and family studies. And I wanted to be a therapist. If I wasn't going to make it in Hollywood, I wanted to be a therapist. So I go and tell these little children, look at me. I'm ended up a comedian. It doesn't even matter what you have a degree in. It does not matter. And get a load of this. It's so much more about who you know, making connections with people, networking. And it is like, if you have to get out and get a job waiting tables until that, job in your degree comes up or whatever, you're going to meet people at that restaurant that you work with that are going to help you later on down the road. Everything leads to something else. Everything. My husband and I met at a restaurant. He was bartending, I was waiting tables. And y'all will not believe the people in business that we've done business with, that we waited tables with in the late 80s, early 90s. And I'll go across the country and somebody will go, Leanne, it's me, Brenda. And it'll be from somebody that we waited tables with. It's so everything leads to something else. And if you're out here digging ditches, you'll meet somebody that will help you get to the next thing.
No wasted effort.
Yes.
Well,
totally.
And kind of like what Jenn said about, women who are afraid to start something new too, is this mindset, just like I was the same way as a college graduate. I have to have the perfect job when I leave, because I have to be in that job for 40 years, whatever. And that's a dying thing. That doesn't happen anymore. No. And I think that older women in their minds have the still mindset of what they're supposed to be, what women are trained to be a certain way. And it's like, we have to knock that out of that shell, around us, break it down constantly, that you don't have to be anything, just what, like you said, what your gut's telling you to do.
Right. And okay, y'all, I went 2 weeks. It was just a blessing from heaven. My husband went to high school with a brilliant woman who is an attorney in North Carolina, and she is now owner in a health and wellness resort, and invited me to come, me and my daughter, for 2 weeks. And I've never been to anything like that. And it was unbelievable. But, and there's so much I can tell you all about how life-changing that was. But we would get in the pool and do these aqua classes. And my 23-year-old was like, I'm not doing aqua classes. That's for other people. I don't know. But she ended up loving it. And we would float around the pool before the class would start. And y'all will not believe the women that we met that were at this health and wellness resort. There was one that was a massage therapist for the NFL. She'd been doing it for 30 years. And she would mother these, because they're young boys that are basically 21, 22. She would, mother them and take on their energy and, all the pressure they were under and all that. It was so interesting talking to her. There was another woman that is a chef that when she was younger was the chef for Gerald Ford and Betty Ford when they were in their summer home at Vail. And she said they were darling. And then she went on to open up her own little cafe and in between, right outside of Vail, where people would drive up in Mercedes and tractors. And then there was a woman who was a dog trainer. I mean, when I tell you all the different women that were there, women that ran companies, women that, were in the dog shows, all kinds of professions that I thought, wow. I mean, think about how interesting those women were. And it was, women that could afford to go there and take care of their bodies and take care of their wellness. And I don't know, I thought that was very empowering. And I just was amazed at what these women did. You don't have to. I remember my little Aunt Lila, who I loved, God rest her soul. But she would say, you need to be a secretary. Mm. And there's nothing wrong with being a secretary. I could not, God did not give me, I took typing in high school and I was going, and Mr. Mobley was like, Leanne, you can't do it, honey. Nobody's going to hire you. So, and some of my best friends are secretaries and they're bad mama jammas. They can organize somebody's life and do all that. I can do work fast. I can't do all that. I'm too slow. But I remember thinking, well, maybe she's right. Maybe. And she goes, or you could be a teacher, and praise God for teachers, but God did not call me a teacher. But I remember feeling like, well, why can't I do something else? But it's just in our culture, I think, to say these are women's jobs and this is what women should do. But there's a whole big world out there. And teachers and secretaries, God bless them, and not thankful for them. And Lord, teachers have raised my children for me because I would forget the zoo check. But and didn't know what in the world to have time. They didn't have lunch money. I was so unorganized. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a big world out there. My daughter-in-law's working for a big company. She's doing well. She loves to work. My daughter is in development for East Tennessee Children's Hospital, loves her work, has to raise money. She's 24 years old. They put this huge amount of money she's supposed to raise. She does it. She's the communications girl. I've got one that's a makeup artist. And let me tell you about the makeup artist, the 23-year-old. We wanted her to go to college, and she went to a private school, and we all expected our children to do this and have this path. And I admit it, I expected her to have that path. I wanted all my children to have a college education. But I think I was projecting something from my childhood that I had quit UT and then came back to UT, dated men you wouldn't wipe your feet on, smoke cigarettes on a dumpster. So when I say, I was in a bad place. Okay. So then I went back, got my degree, and I just felt like Helen Reddy. I got my degree. Nobody's going to hold me down. So then I wanted that for my girls and my son. They both, oldest two went to college, loved it, all that, graduated. My baby child went to a very nice school, and I loved it. And I would have loved to have gone there. And she just was not feeling it. And she kept saying, she was scared to say to us at first, but she started doing makeup and hair on the floor when everybody's going to all these formals, and she was in a sorority and she was going, but she ended up, everybody go, please Tess, help us with this. And so she ended up doing that, probably that more than studying. So she came to us and said, I know y'all want me to finish, but I want to go to makeup school. I want to do makeup for television and film. And I got to tell y'all, I'm ashamed to say this, but I kind of fought. I just said, can you get your degree? Why don't you get your degree first? And then and you'll have that. You'll always have that. And my husband said, who is very well educated and has a master's and makes straight A's and everything he did and stalked me. He said, Leanne, none of that matters. If this is what she's supposed to be doing and she wants to do it, let's send her to do this. She doesn't have to have a college degree. All that doesn't even matter. Oh. He goes, who cares about, he goes, I've hired thousands of people. I never asked where they went to college. I never asked what their GPA was. I don't care about that. I care, can you do this job, fit in this culture? He goes, she needs to do what she wants to do. And so I'm a dreamer, really kind of held her back. And so we researched schools, and she went to school in Manhattan for television, film, and special effects. Ended up loving special effects. It's supposed to be on a movie right now, but the mean stupid COVID has ruined it. But she'll be there in October. But loves it. Thrived in it, was at the top of her class, and felt successful and felt like she was where she was supposed to be. And so I think she's a good example and she's got a wonderful talent for it. She is my baby, and she's been home during the COVID, and she doesn't pick her panties up out of the floor. And we stay mad. And then when she starts her period, Katie barred the door, but she's also, I don't know if y'all seen her do videos on me. She makes me into a completely different person, and people go, good Lord, I need her. She's really talented, but she's found her thing. And I think everybody deserves to find their thing, and everybody's got a thing. And it doesn't matter if you're 60.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You can go do that thing.
Yes. Yep. Leanne, I was wondering about your daughters and your son and your family. How do they feel about your comedy? Because I've seen some of your comedy, and I know they're in it.
Yes. Okay. When they were in middle school, they said, do not speak of my name. And that was a terrible time. That was a terrible dry time. And it was going to be a prolific time, with puberty and all that. But I had to just ignore. That was a dry time. But when they were little, they were on Nick at Nite with me, and they thought that was pretty nifty. And they kind of just were raised in it, because I started when my baby child was a year old. So they just, it's just like mom works at Target, really. Now that they're grown, they go, we don't care what you talk about. We don't care. Like you can talk about me being on my period and being a butthole. They don't even care. They've got good sense of humor. They're very secure. They really are. And so they're like, yeah, we don't care what you talk about. But it's just been lately, in the last few years, that my son even realized what I did, or what level it was on, because he wrote a paper about me in college and about me doing comedy, and he had to ask me stuff he didn't really even know. And his professor said, well, there's not many women in comedy, and that's kind of a big deal that your mom's done what she's done. And so he said to me, he goes, he kind of acknowledged that, and that was so sweet. And then he has seen me go on stage at some sold out shows, and he walked back stage and was like, wow. Wow. So, their school would ask me to do stuff when they were little, and they didn't want me to, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to be on their turf, and some, and my baby child, we'd have to buy her Reese's cups to get her to be quiet and not heckle me. But, but they don't mind. My husband is like, there's been like one time that he said, don't talk about that. And then now I think he'd go ahead. If it makes money, I don't care. But they all dig it. They're all very sportive, very sweet about it. Now they still want me. Everybody still thinks, I think it's been a blessing and a curse, because I have been able to raise my children, stay at home. I would take them in the carpool during the week, take them to school every day, and then I'd work on the weekends and do shows. And so, occasionally I'd be at a corporate thing during the week, but I think that they still think, oh, mom, pick up my dry cleaning. And like, I'll be on my way to do a show, and they still think I'm still available all the time to do, and I try to be. But, I could have kept my grandbaby this afternoon. I'll get to see him this afternoon. But I said, I've got podcasts that I'm doing. They're like, oh, yeah.
Right.
That's right. You're a comedian.
Yeah. Right. You have a job. Yeah. It's humbling, children, right? Because no matter how many great things you do, mine are still like, Mom, can I have a snack? You're like, yes, honey. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. I just, won an Emmy Award, and now I'm going to go get you a snack. Sure.
Oh, my darling.
You know what I mean? Like it's very good. It's humbling in life to have kids.
Well, it's one of the two, because it's better for kids to be like this than to be the kids who were enamored by it and then want to do it and then become the kids who are in show business and then end up having I don't know. There's a difference to me, and I'm glad that if you're a smart enough parent to where, like, I don't want my son in media. I mean, if he wants to do it, of course I'll help him, but there's a part of me that hopes he doesn't want to do it, right? Because I want to learn from him. I want to learn some new gigs from him. And then going back to you in the pool at the health place, how boring of a conversation would that have been if had those women not done what they wanted to do, right? So everybody, there's a reason why we're called to different things, because we're supposed to learn from each other. We're not supposed to be all homogenized and the same,
Right.
And I used homogenized. I probably learned that at UT.
Leanne, you've got some pretty famous fans. Reese Witherspoon, Paula Deen, Dr. Phil. They're all big fans of yours. How does that feel?
Well, let me tell you, little Dr. Phil, when I was at one of those horror competitions that I talk about in my act, in Atlanta with my baby, and she was in 6th grade, and Dr. Phil's people called. My manager goes, "How do you know Dr. Phil?" And I go, "I don't know Dr. Phil." And he goes, "Well, they want you on the show on Monday." And I flew to LA to do it. It was a very lighthearted segment. And Robin, his wife, said, "Leanne, he watches you all the time." And I was like, "Dr. Phil watches me?" I mean, that was crazy. And then Paula Deen was going to play my mother on ABC. I had a deal with ABC and Warner Brothers for a sitcom, and Paula was going to play my mother. And that's how we met. And she kind of interviewed me and said, I remember she had a cigarette and a Pepsi, and she said, "Tell me who you are." And I told her, and she goes, "I believe you. Okay, I'll play your mother." And then, we were fast friends. And I opened for her for years and did several Food Network shows with her. And Paula was really good to me. And I met so many people through her and all of that. It's so nice when somebody who's made it pulls somebody else up. And then, and I hope I can do that for people. And then Reese Witherspoon. Okay, I've got a good friend in Nashville, Hugh Hauser, who is so funny. So funny.
I know
he is you do?
I don't know him personally, but I know who you're talking about. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. So funny. He does a Reba McEntire impersonation that'll blow your mind. And he's good friends with Reba. And Hugh and he met me backstage at he's a planner, event planner, and he was doing a big thing. And I was opening for Darius Rucker or Lady Antebellum. I did it 2 years, and he was back there in a boot cut jean and his hair blown out. And we met, locked eyes, and fell in love, and have been best friends ever since. And he's a lot younger than me, and but we've just always hit it off. And sometimes he'll open for me. Sometimes he'll do a little comedy and open for me. But what was I saying? What were we talking about? Something about Hugh. Oh,
he introduced you to Reese?
Yes, thank you. He knows everybody. And he said, "Leanne, I've showed the video of old people going to concerts to Janine and Ronnie Dunn." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Hugh, why did you do that? I don't want Ronnie Dunn to think I was talking about his little legs and his hair plugs." He goes, "No, he's not." He goes, "But they've become big fans, and they're hosting a CMA after party with Reba, and they want you to come." And I was like, "What?" So I had to go to a hotel room. I'd been taking care of my little elderly mom and daddy. And I went to a hotel room and lay down for like 2 hours to try to get myself together, because these movie star people stay out all night. So the party didn't even start till 10 or 11 after the CMA Awards. So I went to this thing, and y'all would not even believe who all was there. It was crazy. And I met little Reba. Reba goes, "Who are you?" Everybody goes, "Who are you?" Anyway, she was yummy. Her fanny you could fit her little tiny fanny into, like a sunglass case. I don't even know. So anyway, little Reese Witherspoon was there, who is the same size as a child. And he said, "Leanne, Reese, this is my friend Leanne." And she intently looked at me, and I said, I don't know what I said, something about my mama's been sick and had a stroke, was at Vanderbilt. And she said, "What is happening to your mama?" So she locked eyes with me and talked to me for a long time. And I thought she was precious. And then, I went home, and all of a sudden she started following me. And I didn't even know if she'd remember me. And I started doing those back porch little videos, no makeup on, looking like a picked jaybird. And I would say, well, I've made a Jell-O salad. Well, I made a chicken pot pie. Well, during the pandemic, I didn't even know anybody's listening. And she messaged me and said, Leanne, you are helping people and you need to keep doing it. And I was like, what? I was so nervous. And I said it, I showed it to my middle child in communications. And I went, look at this. She goes, be cool, girl, be cool. She goes, everybody take a breath. And so ever since then, I mean, Reese will go message me, and she's living in Nashville, and so I hope that I get to see her again. But anyway, she's been darling to me, darling,
because she grew up there. So when she got to play, well, she got to play Johnny Cash's wife. I don't know why her name just left me. Yes, thank you. Yes. It was that for locals, it was like this full circle moment, right? Mm-hmm. Because Reese grew up and went to high school in Nashville, so so it's cool that she went back there.
I know, and I think she wants to raise that baby child there instead of LA. But I don't know. I think she's got homes everywhere. But Nicole Kidman, there's all kinds of people in Nashville, and it's now it's even more. A lot of comedians have moved from Los Angeles to Nashville. Nashville's getting to be a really big comedy scene. And
when I grew up, so I tell people I'm from there, and people are like, oh my gosh, what a great town. I'm like, yes. Now, when I was growing up there, it was, the local television station would do angel stories, and like it was very conservative, and it was, and I just felt a little uncomfortable and had to flee. But I'm so glad.
Oh, you did. See, I left when I was 17 to go to school, but I remember in Adams, we go over to Rivergate Mall, which now I think is like a war zone. But anyway,
I've been there
people don't go.
We went to 100 Oaks the most from Columbia. So we're in the south.
Oh, we never could find it.
And 100 Oaks, my friend, is truly a war zone. It is like.
Is it?
You don't want to be there in the daytime, let alone the nighttime, unfortunately. So,
but going over to Rivergate, all those country music stars lived on the lake and would go to Rivergate. And so I ate ice cream with Porter Wagner. I saw June and Johnny Cash and Sharon Williams, her getting her own paint with a big fur coat on. I bought bras with the Mandrell sisters. And see, for a little child in the South, in a small town, to me, I looked at them and thought, I was fascinated by them. And I thought, I can do it. I don't know, I can't sing, but there was something that attracted me to all of that. I just thought, that's going to be me.
And now it is. And now Reese Witherspoon is sharing your podcast and telling people to follow you. Is so cool. I want to hear a little bit more about your podcast, because for our listeners, definitely go listen to Leanne's podcast. It's called Sweaty and Pissed, Menopause and More. Tell us, how has it been podcasting? Do you enjoy it?
I do enjoy it. And I got to tell you, girls, that I just had to take something off my plate. And so I'm no longer going to be doing it. We have our episodes. We did over 100 episodes. Karen is kind of phasing it out. My partner, who's a nurse practitioner, she's doing a few topics here and there to phase it out. She's going to start her own one, because I want to do one with the Big Panty Nation. I want to do one that can be some women's health in there, but also talk to comedians, talk to Reese Witherspoon, maybe Reba, do some, more rounded thing. But let me tell y'all that podcast, she is my nurse practitioner. She helped me through a really hard time trying to figure out about my hormones, my thyroid. I thought I had something bad wrong with me. She saved me. She did. And I said to her, all these people are doing podcasts, and my manager said that I need to be doing one. And I go, she sees 4,000 patients. She can't see new patients because she's so busy, because she knows how to do hormones and nobody else does. Not many people do. And so I said, would you do this with me? And she was like, well, okay. And I mean, she works like a dog 50, 60 hours a week. And it was really hard. That was the biggest challenge for us, to find time that she wasn't working, that I was in town, not traveling and working on the road, to be able to do it. But it has been so rewarding, and I miss it. I miss doing it. But with my mom sick, I go back and forth and take care of her. And my career went to another level, and it just got to be too hard. But I want people to listen to that, because it is so informative. We try to make it entertaining. And I think women don't know what to do about their hormones and their own health. And so I think there's a lot of podcasts that have come into fruition now that are talking about menopause, but there weren't that many when we started that.
Right.
And I do think we make it fun. It's not, just medical stuff, even though she's brilliant. She can get as deep into the uterine lining, let me tell you. And I'm just going, what is she saying? Let's talk about chicken pot pie. But so thank y'all for listening, because I have enjoyed doing it, and it's been fun, and I think we really did well, and we helped people, and it did pretty good for a couple of middle-aged women in Knoxville, Tennessee.
See,
Yes.
I mean, to me, that's the best woman out there.
That's right.
But I want to talk just briefly for those women like you who, here we are in middle age and we're having to take care of elderly parents.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that, not only physically, because there's a physical burden to that, but there's also that emotional burden that now you've reversed roles where you're the parent and now she's the child. So talk about that for
it's hard. It's hard. It's the hardest season, I think, in my life. Mm-hmm. And I've had 3 babies in 4.5 years, and their daddy worked all the time. And I was in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. I mean, I've been through some mess. And I can tell you, this is the hardest thing I think I've ever gone through. One, watching my sweet, precious mama suffer. And she had a stroke. She's had every complication. And she's now at home. We're keeping her at home as long as we can. So she has to have caregivers. That's been you could write a book on caregiving, and people, honey, we've had to deal with all kinds of stuff with that. But anyway, to find a good one is a blessing from God. But she's in a wheelchair. She needs really 24-hour care. My little daddy is 80. He's determined to keep her at home and be the main caregiver. He's lost 50 pounds. We have to deal with him, and he's precious, but he's not even in his right mind anymore. He's so tired. So for us to be able to tell him as daughters, to tell our dad, who was always the leader and pretty strong-willed, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to have to be. That's been very difficult for me and my sister. And I tell you, if somebody's looking for a career out there and you don't know what you want to do, if you can help people navigate through this. I met a therapist at that Hilton Head Health, and she said, I'm really thinking about maybe starting some kind of agency where I can help people navigate taking care of elderly parents, because her dad had just died. She had taken care of him for 5 years. And she said, it is just so hard, and it causes tension in the family. Mm-hmm. And, I live 3.5 hours away. My sister lives 15 minutes away. So her burden is different from my burden, because I go and stay for, days on end and away from my family and my husband and all that. But she's there, but she feels the burden of that. If they need something, she's the one that's going to have to do it. It's just a lot. It's a lot. And then during COVID, my sweet little mom and daddy sat and watched the news and stayed terrified the whole time. And I'd be like, we're going to watch Real Housewives from Atlanta, because we're not watching, because in their mind, they just thought the world was coming to an end. And I had to keep them up because they felt so isolated, and that was horrible. So anyway, this is the time that, people are living longer. We're now at my age, I'm tending to them. I've got a new grandbaby. They need me. I work. I have a husband. I mean, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And I feel bad for people going through it. Mm-hmm. And there's really not many people who help you figure it out. Like, do we need to get a hospital bed in the house? Where do you get that from? Where do you get caregivers from? Do we put them in assisted living? Can they go to this facility? All those. It's been a lot.
It's like you said. I mean, I lost my mother last year, and not from COVID. I don't know why I feel the need to tell people it wasn't from COVID, but she lived to be 91. But yes, the last 6 months of her life, she needed full-time care, and the burden was on my older sister who lived there. But it's like you said, though. I mean, we fortunately, the siblings, we were able to coordinate during that time where some siblings don't. It sounds like you and your sister coordinate. But it's like, yes, there's a wedding planner, there's a vacation planner, and there should be a planner that you can go to and say, well, does she qualify for this? Because that's the other conversations you have to have. Like, does she qualify to have care in the house, or is she too privileged? Like in my mother's case, like her and my father planned things out well enough to where she didn't qualify for the care. It had to be out of pocket. And so we had to make those anyway. I think that sounds like a brilliant idea for a career, is to be a elder care planner, so that you can plan all that stuff out, and the children don't have to, and the grandchildren don't have to have that emotional burden. And
right.
Because it seems like everybody starts over from scratch. Why should we all start over from scratch if so many people have gone through it? People have been through this before you, Leanne, but you're having to start from scratch.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we just winged it. We didn't know. And my parents still have their farm and they can afford. So it's all out of pocket. But like, where do you find them? And are they going to, and this is terrible, but we've already had people take drugs out of the house. We've had, problems with that. So, we didn't know we have no idea. And my little daddy doesn't want anybody in the house, but he has to have somebody in the house. And my sister and I can't leave our husbands and go live there. We could have used mediation at times to kind of help say to him, what are your expectations of us? What can we do? What is reasonable for everybody, so that we all don't drag our own health down? Let me tell you, there were all kinds of people at that Hilton Head Health that were there to try to get their health back after a parent died, after a child, taking care of a disabled child. Like there were a lot of people that were caregivers that came there to work on their wellness, because it is so hard on you physically and mentally. And by the time I got there, I mean, I had inflammation in my body. I had back spasms. I'm sure a lot of stress. I had transferred my mom wrong at Christmas and was still having back pain from that, going to a physical therapist. That wasn't working. And just to be able to breathe and focus on myself was a gift, an unbelievable gift that someone gave me.
You're so smart to take that time for yourself too. So smart. Are we doing okay?
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're doing okay. I'm sorry. Something popped up. Adobe Flash something. I don't know what that is. This computer is only 20 years old.
It's all good. Well, Leanne, tell us about your tour, because I saw there are some dates where you're actually hitting the road again and the world is starting to open back up.
Well, the Big Panty Tour was supposed to happen last June, and a lot of those dates have already been moved to 2022. They had to, because there were anywhere from 800 to 2,500 seats, and you just can't get that many people together. So I know people have been wondering, like, why are you doing Kansas City Improv if you can't be at the theater in Kansas City or wherever? And so everybody's just trying to navigate this mess. So right now they're putting me in small venues. So if you see new dates, those are small venues that are mandated. I mean, with social distance and all that many people can get together. They're very small, limited seating. And so hopefully by July, right now we're holding my dates in July, and who knows if they'll go, but the Big Panty Tour is supposed to start July to late summer in big theaters and it'll all depend on, what's happening with the mean stupid COVID. But that's when it's supposed to happen. But so if people see little dates that may not be part of the Big Panty Tour, that's helping me get ready for the Big Panty Tour, so I can remember what I'm saying.
Yes.
So I can remember I'm a comedian.
Right.
Or do I cook chicken pot pie?
That's right.
What am I doing?
Well, we are so excited to talk with you today and connect with you. We're big fans. So thank you so much for taking the time and hanging out with us. We want all of our listeners to follow you at Leanne Morgan Comedy on Instagram and leannemorgan.com.
All right. Now, Leanne, though, before you go, we do a thing called the Friendzy 5. Okay. It's 5 questions, rapid fire, first thing that comes to your mind. Okay. No pressure. Just and Jen's going to present these to you.
Okay. Ready? Number 1, where is your cozy happy place?
The bathroom.
Number 2, what's your favorite framed thing in your home?
Pictures of my children.
Mm-hmm.
What was your most memorable birthday?
My 50th. My husband took me to Blackberry Farms and gave me a new wedding ring. Updated upgraded.
Yeah.
And it was all a surprise. That was a big one.
Nice.
4, what's a daily routine or ritual you stick to?
Drinking coffee in my gown and watching the Today Show.
I love it. Number 5, what fashion trend did you jump on?
High-waisted leggings.
Yes.
That hold you in.
Praise God for those. Praise God,
Jen. Really? I mean, for real. I have been wearing them up under my breast. The whole pandemic. I'm in them right now. If y'all saw, I wore this pretty top, but if y'all saw, I've got the same leggings that I wear that holds me in.
You don't want to see what I got. Yeah.
They're like a warm hug, aren't they? Just so nice. Just, make you feel good.
They are. Well, y'all are darling.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, fellow Tennessee and fellow UT. Yes.
I was so thrilled when I heard back from your assistant, I guess, Matt, or manager. I just randomly reached out through your website because I'm such a fan, and I saw that you came as a part of the Cure Childhood Cancer benefit this year, and I want to say thank you. I'm a cancer mom, and so I just and my daughter's a survivor. I do always have to say that my daughter's a survivor. She's 5 years old and doing great and free and clear. But that's where I first got introduced to you, and I've become such a diehard fan ever since. So thank you for donating your time to Cure and doing that. And thank you for saying yes. I mean, I was like, I told Melissa, I said, I just kind of just threw it out there. I was like,
that's how you do it.
I guess a website form. Like, I don't know if she ever even is going to get that or read that. And then I saw he booked it. I was like, oh my gosh. So you just made us so happy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Y'all come to Dollywood.
We will.
And we'll go outlet mall shopping. Okay.
Yes.
Sounds great.
Absolutely. Back at my own stomping ground.
Okay.
Leanne,
and if y'all want to go to a show, let me know. I'll be somewhere. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And
thank you for moving on
this afternoon. Yes.
Yes. And thank you for moving on your stuff and everything. Enjoy.
Oh, thank you, my darling. All right. Bye, y'all.
Best of luck to your parents. I understand. So good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, my darling. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Let's grab a quick question out of the You Don't Know My Life box, a game that you can buy on Amazon. We have the link if you're watching YouTube here below. All right. So the question for you, Jenn, what's something that you're surprisingly really bad at besides scheduling? I'm just kidding.
Something that I'm surprisingly really bad at. Well, Melissa, this is something that I need to get better at, trying things that I'm bad at, because I'm typically the person who goes to the things that I'm good at. Let me think about it.
Oh, you have to. I'm sorry, Jenn. You have to think about it. You're good at everything. I'm just kidding. I'll go first.
I know what it is. I'm bad at technology.
Oh.
I'm surprisingly terrible with technology. And as much as we have to focus on it, I mean, my phone is constantly yelling at me that my storage is full and that I can't do something that I want to do because I got to go back and delete stuff. So I'm sure I've got settings where my phone is saving every video or text message or meme that's ever sent to me somewhere. And then I got to go in. And I mean, it's always something I'm constantly like, even the engineers in radio that I work with will say, oh, I don't know. I've never come across that before. And I'm like, why is it me? Why me? So I am surprisingly bad at technology. And if anybody can sage that for me and, or smudge it or whatever you got to woo woo
Yeah.
do to get the technology flowing better in my direction, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, the smudge stick so that the evil
Yeah,
spirit
whatever it
don't
is.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I've had the storage thing before, and it usually is the everything in your text messages, and if you have more than one email app on your phone, if you're doing work emails and personal emails, sometimes that's what does it as well. For me, I am terrible at plants, gardening and plants, and I don't know why I keep trying. I think I'm finally going to give up, but my father he was great at growing things. Like when growing up, he had like a half an acre to an acre of personal garden at our house.
Wow.
He worked in agriculture. He was born on a farm. So I mean, he had it, but he took to it. And so he could grow every vegetable. He had all kinds of trees, like apple trees and all these different trees. And I mean, he had grapevines and the whole thing, like the things that I
Wow.
wish that I had now, where when you're a kid with somebody like
Yeah.
that, you don't want to have to go pick this, because the kids are recruited to go pick this, harvest.
Right. Right.
And I was like, I don't want to go out and sweat and do all this, Dad. I want to go and do something else. But for some reason, I feel like I have inherited the DNA of the Carter green thumb. And
No.
I did not. I have what's, I guess, black thumb. I don't. There was a
Do you
meme.
just like kill that little pot of basil that you buy
Everything.
from
I
Publix or
kill
whatever?
everything. I kill
Mhm.
everything. There was a meme I posted on Facebook, Melissa Carter ATL, which said that I am more of a hospice nurse for plants because I prepare them for their meeting with Jesus. It is the worst. Jenn got me, I think it was a lily, when I first moved into my new home,
Yeah.
and it was dead in 11 months. So the 11
Oh,
months was a record. I
not
had
bad.
a couple people who bought me succulents. Okay,
Those are
succulents.
real hard to kill, Melissa Carter. Come on.
Both were dead in a year. And I followed one of them had the little tab in it, and I followed the instructions on yours. You had kept the tab in there, and I did everything I was supposed to. I did exactly what the directions told me to do, and everything is dead. Every living plant. I've tried gardens at every home I've lived in, except this one. I'm like, why? Why should I even try? But and I've even, like, there's a patch outside my home of grass that's not growing, and so I did the pH balance, and I tried to put like lye and stuff. I mean, I'm doing the things that gardeners do,
And
and
it's not
no,
clicking.
no.
We
So
can't
anyway,
all be good at everything.
don't
It's
get me a
hard to
plant.
be perfect.
Do not get me a plant.
I'm
Do
gonna
not
get
get me
you
a
a
plant.
plant.
Do not get me any more plants. Please don't. You're gonna give me another plant.
I am. Okay, Melissa Carter has your pep talk for this week to get you all pumped up.
I want to focus on the miracle of the vaccines, right? So we had here in
Mhm.
Georgia last week, they opened up vaccines to all adults. So there's no more restrictions in the state of Georgia. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that across the country, but we're getting vaccinated like President Biden said we would here before the 1st of May. And so we're going to get back to our normal lives, hopefully here in the summertime, in the fall, especially in 2022. So I want to focus on that because you had a year to reflect. I mean, we all talked
Mhm.
about that. What's important? We're learning what's important. Our family's important. Our time to ourselves is important. We don't want to be overwhelmed, all these things. But now we're going to get back in our regular routines. We're going to get back in the cars for those who are going to go back to the office, whether it's this year or next year. You're going to get back in traffic. You're going to get back into your world where you
Mhm.
feel overwhelmed. And there's a part of me that I want you, well, actually, all of me, I want you to hold on to those things that you contemplated while you were in quarantine. But my mantra is taking it down to its minimal level. Okay, so the mantra for today, our mirror mantra is: you are not alive just to pay bills and lose weight.
This is so good.
Because and I'll repeat it because I know Jenn is typing, you are not alive just to pay bills and lose weight. And the reason that they correlate is because that's what tends to happen when you're in the hamster wheel of the workforce. Is
Mhm.
that you get behind, you're overwhelmed, you're having to, again, divide your attention between several things, and you're like, "Okay, I'm here because it helps me pay the bills, helps me pay the bills." Okay, that's great. But ends up for a lot of women, what happens is You sacrifice at work because you need to pay your bills, which I completely understand. But then when you are in your alone time, when you're in your personal time, then you obsess over how you look. You obsess over the beauty aspect of you, because that's something that you've been trained to do since you were what? I mean, probably 5 years old, right? So I just want to remind you that those things that inspired you during the pandemic, the things that you thought you dreamt of, you're like, okay, I'm, you are alive. There are, who knows what the final death toll is going to be like today. It's like 530,000 people, like over 500,000 people in the United States alone died of the pandemic. So it is a miracle that you survived this. It's a privilege that you survived this. So many didn't, right? So what are you going to do with your life from now on? And so those things that you were inspired to do when you were hunkered down at home, and the things you thought, oh, this is more important to me than that is, well, don't get back in the habit of thinking that your life is nothing more than just to pay the bills and lose weight. It's not. You should enjoy what you do. You should enjoy your life and not let yourself get so stressed out like you did before.
I love it. So good. That is so good. I'm going to remember that all week long. Thank you so much, MC.
You're welcome.
All right, please subscribe to the Friendzy podcast and leave us a review. It really does big things and allows other people to find out about it. You can also sign up for our weekly email, and we will send that week's episode right to your inbox. We promise we will not bug the crap out of you with lots of emails. We only send one a week with the new show, and the way to sign up is at thefriendzy.com.
And we want to know, is there a friend of yours who would enjoy this episode? We want you to share this with her as well. Plus, our brand new YouTube channel, we mentioned that earlier. It's live with videos and extended interviews from the show. If you like this show, share about it on your social media as well, because then you can tag us, we can see it, and then we can share it as well.
We want to say big thanks to our listener, Lauren Goins. She reached out and emailed us because she signed up for the Friendzy emails. And I just wanted to be able to share her message with you. Okay. Melissa hasn't heard this before. Her email says, "Hey ladies, I don't know if y'all remember me, but I used to perform at Whole World and we met a few times. Anyway, I have loved listening to you two on the podcast. Y'all were my favorite part about the Burt Show, and it's so awesome to hear you gals back together." She says, "I took a little mini-me day for my 40th birthday up to Tallulah Gorge and listened to the Friendzy on the way. It was so relatable and encouraging. I have a daughter that is 7, and I totally related to this discussion about the dynamics of siblings once parents are gone." She said, "My story is a little different because I no longer speak to my dad, but it's still significantly changed how I put boundaries in place with my siblings and navigating what I need to allow in my life and what I need to shed. Anywho, I just wanted to tell you guys congrats, and I look forward to many more episodes." Then she says, "P.S. As a request for an episode, I would love to hear you explore the Enneagram. Have you ever looked into it?"
Oh, I've seen that everywhere.
Me too. Have you done it yet?
No.
Me either. I've been kind of scared too, but it is a way to get to know yourself. So
That's so weird.
I wrote her back and I
Something
asked.
Something is, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's just like, I'm one of those people that if I see it everywhere, it's like, okay, well, that's a sign. I'm the Pisces that feels like, oh, it's a sign.
That's a sign. Yes. So she said there is a quiz. She sent us a link, and she said, it's become very popular and it's hard to find free ones because Enneagram experts have started cashing in. But she asked that you and I go through and maybe take this quiz. And also she says to read about the Enneagram. There are some amazing books out there. Her email says, including The Road Back to You, that's on Audible, and The Sacred Enneagram. Anyway, she says, "I love talking about this stuff. So if you want any help in navigating it, let me know." And yeah, she says,
I take that challenge, Lauren. I take that challenge.
I know. I thought it was great. Enneagram gets to our core desires and fears. So it's important to answer as your core self without the responsibilities that we have on us at the present moment.
Okay.
Then she sent it, said, "Peace and blessings, Lauren Rivard Goins."
Lauren, yay.
Isn't that a great idea?
That's a great. At first, I want to give a shout out to Whole World Theater, who we both love, and you can Google them if you're not in Atlanta. But I think they have also done some streaming shows. Like I think they started doing streaming shows. So if you're not in Atlanta, even if you are and you're still hunkered down, then that's and they didn't ask us to plug that. It's just, Lauren, I just want to give a shout out. But anyway, yes, I have seen that everywhere and I'm willing to do it. So Should we prepare this for next week? Is that too? I don't want to impose upon your schedule, Jen Hoppy.
Let's dive into it and look into it, and we're just going to promise Lauren that it'll be in a new episode soon.
It may not be next week. That's right. So we'll do it soon.
Soon.
There we go. Well, because I want to point out that Jen and I, when we started this, it's one of those things that I would love for women to get more into business and higher ups in business, because the way we structured this show is so that she and I are true partners in this, and we're not overwhelmed, and we respect each other's schedule as mothers. And so that's one of the things. That's why I said because we come from a business where it was more of dictated to, and you shall sacrifice your sleep and your life for this. And again, we had great success in that world, but we want to learn from that and not make our lives so hectic now, right?
That's right. And the Enneagram should be something that we take our time to explore and enjoy, because I've heard so much about it.
Well, let's do it. I'm all about it.
We're in.
We're in, Lauren. Thank you. Soundtrack produced by Tammy Hurt for Placement Music, written and recorded by Placement Music creative team member Mark Daniels.
The Friendzy's graphic design is by Helen Vickers and web design by Caden Jacobs.
These are real stories by real women. Thank you for your gift of your time. We really appreciate you.
Until next week,
trust your gut.
Share your story.
Stop lying about your age. See you next time.